Let me say a word to introduce our guest today. How many of you are 27 or older? I know I'm not supposed to ask about age, but 27 or older. Okay, so when Vernon was your age, he had already founded Commerce Bank. Now, for those of you who don't know, Commerce Bank was one of the marvels of the American banking system. But more importantly, it fundamentally challenged what customer service was all about. As many of you know, I used to spend my time in another business school. And commerce was the model that was always held up as the model of high service and customer loyalty. Well, you're going to hear about that here in Vernon's book. Having done that in the US, he's come here to the UK and created another bank called Metro Bank with a similar color scheme, I might note. But as it turns out, the US and the UK flags use the same color scheme, so that's okay. And so Metro Bank is thriving. You're going to hear a lot more about that from our guest tonight. And you're going to hear about how it is probably not so much about banking per se, but about customers and service levels. And I take this very personally. Earlier this year, there was an article about the school, and one of your classmates wrote that the employees here acted as if they were working at the Ritz-Carlton. And that level of service is one that we very much try to live up to. And that's really what Vernon's business has been around for his entire life. So I'm thrilled and delighted to invite here to Oxford and this evening Vernon Hill, founder of Commerce Bank, founder of Metro Bank, and tonight our guest. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dean, and great seeing you all today. As you know, your dean was a well-renowned professor and administrator at Harvard. I went to Wharton, and we believe in America, if you want to run a big business, you go to Harvard Business School, but if you want to own the business, you go to Wharton. And there is some truth about that. Before I start these groups, I just have one message for all of you here in this room. One of the things I've learned after doing this for a long time is everyone in this room has a unique talent. Everyone here is better at something that everyone else in this room is. And if you look at people that really succeed in life, it's those people that match their unique talent to what they do in life. Great chefs taste the food differently than we do. Great musicians hear the music. And my comment to all the students is find your unique talent and match what you do with it in life, and you have a chance of being a star. We're going to talk about how to build a growth business in a slow growth world. And our slogan is, every great brand is created by building fans. We're going to talk about that. And while we're going to use banking as an example, it really applies to anything you might want to do. And why are fans so important? Let's talk about what fans mean. Brands really are at three different levels. The brand down at the bottom, the basic brand. If we say Ford, we know Ford means car, but nobody gets too excited. If we go next up the ladder, if we mention a brand name, you feel good about that brand. But if we get to the top red bar, you feel emotionally attached to the brand. And Apple is certainly the current example that we're all using. You and the brand become one, and we call you fans. No great business has ever been built without a business model about building fans. So that everything I do, this, as the dean mentioned, we started a new bank in Britain. This is the 5th new bank I've done from scratch. And our model in each of those has been creating a business model that builds fans. Now, how do you build a brand from scratch? First of all, you have a value-added, differentiated business model. Nobody needs a me too. Then the culture has to match the model. Lots of businesses we see, the culture and the model are opposed. Then you have to fanatically execute the model. I'm going to talk about each one of these. And this applies whether you're a bank or a retailer or a nonprofit. All of these ideas apply in any business that you're building. Now, what's it mean to create a unique model? As I said, nobody needs a me too. So you have to make a model, you create a model that's very clear and adds clear customer value. The customer gets it immediately. The customer becomes a fan. Fans join your brand, they remain loyal, and they bring their friends. And you need a business model that you can expand, and we call it reproduce with predictable financial results. Now, this is an example of, the dean was kind enough to mention they gave me a bank license when I was just out of Wharton, and this was the name of the bank. I was 27 at the time when we opened this bank, Commerce. There were 24,000 separate chartered banks in America then. We were 24,001. We had one store, no brand, and not much capital. How are we going to turn this mundane, dull business of retail banking into an exciting, high-growth business? When the company was sold in 2007, without acquiring, we were the 18th largest bank in America, from 24,001 to the 18th largest bank. Now, a little bit about that journey. Culture. This is Radio City Music Hall. These were the Commerce Bank annual Wow Awards, recognizing and rewarding the stars of our company. 8,000 Commerce Bank people screaming on Radio City Music Hall. And it shows you to the extent that we would go to reinforce the model and the culture. The Commerce started with one little suburban office, and we built all those little red dots from scratch. We didn't buy, we didn't acquire, we learned to build our model, we learned to expand our brand, and we built all those little red dots from scratch. In the New York market, we built 270 locations from 2001 to 2007. And we broke into a market where a new player shouldn't be able to play. Now, this is bank talk, so I won't spend too much time on it, but shows you what happened as we learned to develop and deliver this brand. In 1990, we had 27 locations. Our assets were a measly $1 billion, and our market cap was only $24 million, a typical American suburban bank. By the year 2000, we grew to 150 stores. Our assets were up to roughly $8 billion. And our market cap was $1.5 billion. Yeah, good. Not great, but good. Then we went into Manhattan from scratch. So we were a typical American suburban bank, and going to Manhattan was very similar to going to Mars. It was a giant leap. The press and the bank analysts just beat us to death. How can this little suburban bank compete against the big players in New York? Well, you can see what happened there. In store count, 428, assets, $45 billion, and our market cap grew from $1.5 billion to $8.5 billion. We took the relatively mundane business of banking and turned it into a high-growth business. And on the far right, you can see the compound growth rates in assets, deposits, and loans. We turned this into a growth business. And our model was in America, as it is here. We believe in a bank that the right side, that the core deposit base is the value of a bank. If you think about a bank, it's really a government license to borrow money cheap. Everyone can make loans, but only licensed banks can accept deposits. So we learned to build our model about growing low-cost core deposits. And we learned that customers will trade lower rates for a better retail experience. No one buys an iPhone 6 because it's cheap. You're buying the Apple world. You're buying the Apple experience in whatever channel you want to use it. And that's what we learned to do in the banking business, a business that had never seen this approach. Now, what were the results? Well, this is the one thing I framed from those days. Forbes puts out every year a 2020 report. These are CEOs of public companies that have served 20 plus years who have a 20 plus compounded return over their term. Somehow this guy Warren Buffett, whoever he is, got one notch above us. We took the mundane business of banking and turned it to a 23%, 30-year compounded shareholder return. And this is the chart I also like. If you invested when you were young, and you can see on the far left, you invested the first year we were open and held on to your shares to 2007, your investment went up 470 times. Not percent, times. And if you were late to the party and invested in 1991 and stayed to 07, it went up 47 times. This should not happen in banking. So the bank was sold in 2007. I had nothing to do for about a week. And a friend of mine had been on me for years, you've got to bring this service and convenience model to Britain where the banks have completely lost the plot. And I came over and shopped the banks. Wow, that's all I can say. I went down to the government to ask them about a bank license. They didn't know how to give me a bank charter. They say we're the first new retail bank charter in Britain since 1840. 175 years. 175 years. So we said to them, we're going to bring this model we learned in America, and we're going to try to attack and shake up the British banking market. A market where the banks are hated by their clients, by the government, by the press. And that's my dog there. So it is the first new high street bank in 100 plus years. It's founded based on our model. On the retail side, we call our branches stores. They're open 7 days a week. We have 40 stores open. In Greater London, we have £5 billion in deposits. We're growing 100% a year compounded for the first 5 years. 100%. No bank that I know of in the Western world has ever grown at these rates. So we're not about being a better UK bank. And whatever business you folks choose to go in, you don't want to set out to be a better thing. You got to be completely different. You have to add clear value. You have to make the choice very clear. We get to start brand new from scratch with a brand new model, and we're not burdened with the problems of the past, fights with the government, and an IT system that doesn't work. It is based on our model. And one thing I've learned, if you see a successful model in America or Britain and you want to export it to where you are, that's not the worst way to start. We believe the value of the bank is a core deposit basis. It's a totally deposit-funded bank. We get IT that works, which is a change in Britain. And while retail is the word we use here, we're actually more commercial bank than we are a consumer bank. The British banks treat the commercial clients worse than they treat the consumer clients. We always tell this story, which is 100% true. If you go to one of the big 5 British banks to open a business account, it takes 6 to 8 weeks. 1 hour when you come into our stores to open. 6 to 8 weeks versus 1 hour. And in a country where the press swears that Brits won't switch banks, almost 700,000 people have switched to us already. Now, what is our model? We're a retailer that happens to be a bank. That's a fundamentally different view of life. Power retailer is a term we use in America. It's a retailer that has redefined how a service or product is delivered. It's redefined the delivery channels. We talk about deposits. Customers care about service, not rate. And the last bullet is the investment community pays us and will pay you to produce predictable high growth. And the culture. You have to create a culture to match your model. It must be very clear and everywhere. We have a little saying you see in yellow, buy in or opt out. When you're recruited by us, you either buy in to our culture or you opt out, as in opt out the door. Hire for attitude, train for skills. I'm in a business where the skills are not that hard to train, but it is hard to train people to deliver the service the way we want. My American friends ask me all the time, what's the hardest thing to do when you manage Brits, and my joke is to get the Brits to smile. And there is some truth to that. And as you build your culture, you overtrain, over-reinforce, and in our firms, everyone owns stock in one form or another. I think it's a tremendous tool to use. Then you have to believe in your model and fanatically execute your model. When I ran my bank in America, we were getting 21 million in-store customer visits every month. 21 million people walk through our doors every month. How are we going to make 21 million people happy? How are we going to make 21 million people fans? And most importantly, how is our model, when something went wrong, how are we going to make that customer more of a fan as we solve the problems? So how do we do it? Believe in your model. You can't say you're going to do something and not believe in it. We overinvest in buildings and people and delivery. We expect our people to get it right 100% of the time. 95 is no good. 99 is no good. 100. And we have a couple little sayings. When a customer asks our staff something, it takes one person to say yes, but two people to say no. If you come into one of our stores and ask us for something, they say, yes, sir, let me take care of this, or let me go find somebody to solve this problem. They're not allowed to say no. And they do like to say no in Britain a lot. There's no question about it. And we're on a quest to kill every stupid bank rule that we can find. And every business that you're in, that you're going to start, there's an endless number of stupid rules to kill, and nobody knows why you have them. So here are some of the fun, stupid rules we've killed. Why shouldn't your branch bank be open every day of the week like every other store? Why shouldn't you be open 7 days a week? And of course, we are. All of us have coins, and we know in Britain the coins weigh about a ton, but the banks won't accept the coins from you. So we have in each store free self-service coin counting machines. You bring them in, you drop them in, you get a receipt, you get money. It's free, and you don't have to bank with us to use it. On the far right, safe deposit boxes. I assume most of you know what a safe deposit box is. The British banks last year decided safe deposit boxes were too much trouble to manage and shut them all down and told their clients they had 1 month to leave. I can't build enough safe deposit boxes in Britain to keep up with the demand. On the bottom left, for those of you who've been into a bank branch lately, probably not very many, so you've got a pen anchored to the counter. We got to protect that pen. So my last year in America, we gave away 28 million pens. So should I spend my time and effort to protect that one pen in the branch, or should I be thrilled to have every business, every household in my market with multiple pens? That is my dog. Now, banks won't let you bring your dog in. There's no reason, there's no rule, it makes no sense. So we started, and we do in Britain, we call it a Dog's Rule program. We want you to bring your dog in, we know his name, we give him a treat, we give him a Metro Bank bandana, we give him a Metro Bank water bowl to take home. On the weekends, we microchip dogs in the banks. And it's a big deal. And this is an important thing about branding. The customers take that to mean, if you love my dog, you must love me. So Metro Bank started, we opened it in the summer of 2010. And this is our network of stores. We're opening about one new store each month. The red stores are open. The whites are coming soon. We're building a store here in town. They'll be open next spring. And we like to say, if we don't have a branch in your town, we're coming soon. And they look like this. They don't look like banks. They're much closer to Apple Store look than they are a bank. It's exciting, it's open, it's inviting, it's fun. It's a retail look. This is in Reading, not too far from here. This is on the main corner in Reading where we carved that two-story space out of the mall there. There is a message here. The brand is united in every channel we deliver. Now, of course, the world's changed. We deliver online, we deliver mobile, we deliver by phone, we deliver every way there is. Our mobile app has a cute little toy most of you will like. When you lose your card, your credit or debit card, you can turn the cards off on your app. When you find them the next morning, you can turn your card back on. Now we all need that. And there's all kinds of new stuff coming. None of these things replace the store. They all work together in one message. Here's what the Brits say about us. So on the right, this is a Time story. Customer satisfaction rates in Britain. 93% for Metro. Royal Bank of Scotland is 6%. Now here's one that's even better. Net Promoter Score is probably the most important and most reliable way to measure the value of your brand. What percentage of your customers will recommend you to a friend? What percentage of your customers will recommend you to a friend? That's how you build a great brand. And of course, we're on the top on the left at 78.9. The Royal Bank of Scotland is -6. And they're pleased that they're up from -12. That means more your customers are telling their friends to leave. When you have a negative score for your Net Promoter Score, you should shut down and leave town. This is our brand numbers on the left. Our brand recognition in London is 77% after year 4. That's an unbelievable number in a big market. Now these are our growth numbers. I'm not going to dwell on this. This shows our growth in deposits last year was 78%. Our growth in loans are 112%. In other words, we've taken the mundane business of retail banking and turned it into a high-growth business. Now, it doesn't apply only to banks. I'm going to talk about a model created in Britain and exported to America. Pet Plan invented pet insurance in Britain, and about 1/3 of the pets in Britain have health insurance. 2 grads of Oxford went to school at Wharton, had a sick cat, couldn't afford the bill, were looking for something to do, and got Pet Plan in Britain to give them the American license for almost free in a country where nobody was used to buying pet health insurance. They just raised some money at a value of $100 million. And these two kids then, like most of you, had no friends, no money, and no clue. But they put their heads down, and here's how. They got the best brand in the world to give them the American license, and with it, they got the loss experience. You can't write insurance unless you have loss experience, and nobody in America had loss experience. So we know by breed and by age what's going to happen to your dogs and cats. As you can see, 1/3 of the pets in Britain are insured, under 1% in America. And their model is they're a pet company, not an insurance company. Now you might think that's just words. That's a fundamental different way of looking at it. They're about building fans, treat policyholders and fans. But this idea that we're a pet company means they do all kinds of things with pets. They're all engaged with their clients. And in my opinion, it's the secret of their success. So there's my dog again. And when they get 1% of the pets in America insured, they'll have a business with a market cap of $900 million. Now, just to close, and once I close, please ask me whatever you have. Emotional brands create massive value. Building fans create great brands. Your brand, our brand, is who we are, what our customers expect. Who we are, what our customers expect. Everything we do, from the largest issue to the most minute issue, makes our brand weaker or stronger. Everything. Great brands know they have to improve their model all the time. If the iPhone 7 is worse than the iPhone 6, Apple's really destroyed their brand. And great brands create great value in whatever market. That's it. Thank you for your time. I'll be happy to take any comments or questions.